I'm going to apologize now to the lousy listeners.
Sound like he smoked 3 packs today.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, I can also, it feels like I'm underwater from how it sounds in my ears right now.
Under the sea.
So welcome back to the Lousy Show.
Welcome back.
I'm Joe.
I'm Sam.
And I just got over the flu.
And I didn't get it. Fuck you.
Yeah, well.
I'm going to get it now. Karma's a bitch.
Yep. Yeah, when you call me, like, in a couple days, like, oh, hey, dude. I'm going to be like, yeah, bitch. Hung up. Anyways, I'm not that kind of friend. A little bit.
Yeah, you are.
But
just in response to what I did. You know.
I do want to go on and warn everybody, I might be a little coffee over the next couple episodes.
A little coffee.
Anyways. Yeah, no, I feel like crap. Well, I shouldn't say I feel like crap. I felt like crap. I feel better. It's just lingering in my chest.
Yeah.
It's just right there.
Yeah.
Right
it
there in my
sounds like
chest.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Although you kind of have like a nice, like gravelly sound right now, you know?
Yeah.
Is this what you're talking about?
No, keep going now.
No.
That one.
This one. Okay.
Yep, just pull that one right on up. Yeah. Just read more. That works too. Yep. I think the volume's down. The video's still playing.
No, it doesn't.
Oh, I thought it was still playing.
Fuck you.
Anyways.
Anyway, sorry. Figured we'd want to read off of it.
Yeah, well, yes, I should have said that to begin with. I actually wrote their name down. So this, okay. So, hold on. My brain's all over the place. I'm going to go ahead and say this now. The start of this episode isn't going to be as comedic or funny, dick joke TLS that you would normally get. I am going to go ahead and start this off, and we talked about this before we even recorded.
Yep.
So that I'm not blindsiding him with this at all. I'm going to go ahead and start this off by simply saying I fucked up.
Ooh.
And I fucked up because I said something in a recent Am I the Asshole episode that 1000% was incorrect. And you all called me out on it. I'm actually going to make sure we tag the individual and future Sam. If you could take just a simple like screenshot of their name and put them in right here. Shout out real quick to @LilPets500. I believe the name, if I'm not mistaken, their name was. Can you click their actual account real quick? I think. Yeah, it's Mira Tarnish @LilPets500. You called me and I saw your comment. We do read the comments on our videos, and I admit that when we read our comments, we've made laughable takes and things. Like male take, for instance, we got cooked for having male takes in some Am I the Asshole episodes. Hell, even in this one that we're referencing, someone said, "Man, I hate someone taking the moral high ground." Like, well, that's sometimes what you're going to get when you hear these videos.
Yep.
But one thing that I have always stood on is making sure that if I'm going to speak on anything based in religion, that I am speaking from the heart with a softened heart, an open hand, and a willingness to hear the other's perspective without a closed mind. I have kept that ever since. Y'all have heard me talk on the show. You've known me for 2 decades now. You've heard me talk about how I was in a Christian metal band, that we were going and spreading gospel, and we did that with softened hearts and open minds. And I am not one who is above reproach in any circumstance. I'm going to read the comment here because I feel the comment needs to be read. And then we're going to play the clip where I really effed up. Actually, future Sam, play the clip here.
First, yeah.
But just understand that there's one very strong word, okay? One strong word that anybody who's not religious wouldn't understand, that those who are religious do, and you shouldn't take it for granted. And that's called grace, okay?
And now I'm going to read the comment, and I want you to know that your comment really resonated with me. And I'm going to get to the point of this in just a moment. Let me read your comment here. Hey, my guy, non-religious people are actually very familiar with the concept of grace, and it suggests a pretty concerning worldview of how confidently you state that we aren't. Quite often we become non-religious because we learn how to demonstrate grace from the diversity of people around us that often a church we grew up in discouraged, like that of the Redditor's parents in the story. Religion is important to you. I recognize and respect that, but it's very close-minded to state that an entire community of humans who are also navigating this world lacks something so considerate and important. You are being the example of a religious person stating that it makes you better than others. And you are exactly right.
Very well said, too.
Very well said.
Yeah. That's the example of like a good critique comment, by the way. Like, not just, spewing your own opinion. It's like, hey, might want to think about that for a second,
1,000%.
So,
and I want to say this. First, I want to say thank you for making that comment, because it opened my eyes to recognizing of something very important, and that is, I need to really think a lot harder about what I say before I say things.
Wow. Imagine. No, just kidding. Sorry. The door opened for me. I had to.
Trying to have a serious moment here, and there's a shitter.
Just had to be a little bit of a shitter for a second.
I do genuinely, when I do these videos with Sam, I do try to go into it with the mindset of, clear thoughts, clear understood, outcomes. Whether it's am I the asshole, and we're discussing, the topic at hand of like, what the story is, looking at it from the objective standpoint and subjective standpoint, so on and so forth, giving it, if I were in their shoes, if I'm not in their shoes, so on and so forth, try to look at it from a holistic standpoint. And the one thing I didn't do was, when we came to religion, I didn't speak from a holistic standpoint. I spoke with a very firm, hey, this is this.
Yeah.
And that was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Because you were very correct. Most non-religious people do, in fact, know what grace is. Do most non-religious people practice that? I don't know. I can't speak on that. I can't speak on if they do or don't. I don't know someone's walk, and that's where I also fucked up. Because I can't speak on everyone's walk. I can only speak on my own.
Yeah.
I'll give y'all a little bit of a backstory about myself and why this definitely hit me so hard is, you remember once upon a time when I was much younger, I was part of the church, and then the church pushed me out.
Yeah.
I went to church. I was part of the high school group. I played in the high school band there. I was part of every Wednesday service, Sunday service. I was there to help with the kids. I was there to I'll do everything. And I remember distinctly having thoughts of, does God even exist?
Mm-hmm.
Why do we believe in God? Just questions that should, honestly, anybody who's strong in their faith would be like, okay, well, this is a very deep-rooted question. Let's help. Let's, through the word or, through scripture and through teaching, understand why these questions are so important, so that way you can further your faith.
Yeah.
Instead, they were like, well, that means you don't believe in God, and thus said everything that I love, the music, the helping, all of it, they took it away from me and said, you can have it back when you believe in God again.
Yeah.
And it really discouraged me from going back into the church. What brought me back was the band that I played with. When I joined that Christian metal band, I not once went into those tryouts telling them that I believed in God.
Yeah.
I went in there very distinctly saying, hey, I'm a very free-spirited individual. I don't have any religious, sect or religious faith that I crawl or cling to. I don't have anything like that. I'm not saying I'm against it, but I'm also not in that fold. And it wasn't until I was on the road with them that I really opened my eyes to God again. Now I have a much softer vision of God than most in a lot of different, denominations.
Yeah, definitely not a traditionalist at all.
As a matter of fact, I'll give you all a very strong opinion here. I don't believe that, I should say, I believe that Jesus was considered love incarnate. That you should love your neighbor no matter if you believe in God or not.
Yeah.
That those who are inherently good will inherently work their way towards a heavenly path.
Yeah.
Jesus walked in love. Jesus didn't walk in the demand. Jesus was not above washing the feet. And that's my belief.
Yeah.
I will never, bound that on somebody. I'll never do that. But that's my belief, is that it's a much more softened version, I would say, of the very concrete, iron hammer scripture that you hear a lot today.
Yeah.
And because of that, this comment hit even harder, because I, through my comments, shut off an entire group of people.
Yeah.
And reading that, it kept me up. Reading that comment, it really kept me up, because I never want to be that individual. So I'm going to get to the conclusion of what I'm saying here, and then we can get into the topic. But I never want to be that individual who shuts off people, or through my comments hurts or deters people from what we do or say, from what could be done or said, what may happen with their religious beliefs or whatnot. I never want to be that person.
Yeah.
I always want to welcome people with open arms. I always want to, offer them a soft heart and an open hand, open ears to hear their story. So for that, I'm going to sit here and say, I'm sorry. I am sorry for what I said. That was not my intent to, basically ostracize an entire group of people.
Yeah.
I was not intending on doing that. And that, like, again, is something I need to be better about, and thinking about what I'm saying, in a holistic stance before I so concretely go in and say something like that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, today's topic of the episode is it's not going to be necessarily about religion, but it's definitely, it's just kind of us discussing, and I don't know how long this episode will last, but it's kind of going to be us just discussing our viewpoints. Sam, you are, well, tell the people, where you stand in religion.
Yeah, I have no religion. I personally, I wouldn't necessarily say that there's absolutely no chance of there being higher powers or anything like that. But at the end of the day, I don't really think that there's one particular set of anything that clearly defines and is what the next step is.
Yeah.
I personally don't really think there is a next step. I think it's just going to be lights out and that's it. But at the same time, I think religion is for the most part, a good kind of guideline and basis on which to live, right? For usually it's like, hey, be a good person, love your neighbor, don't be a dick. And so kind of going back to that comment for a second, we do know grace. Grace is not inherently a religious thing. I think it's a human nature thing. Not everybody has it. It's just like, a sense of humor. Not everybody has one of those. But yeah, no, I don't think there's necessarily a higher power. I don't think there's necessarily a beyond, but I think we can learn good lessons based off of, our ancestors, and say, hey, be good to each other at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, be excellent.
We're just all dust in the wind, dude. But no, and that's one thing I would say you and I have grown up on, is knowing that, I'm religious, you're not.
Yep.
And we never really push those boundaries on one another, because, one, out of respect, that's just something we don't want to sit there and be like, oh, well, you got to believe this.
No.
But it definitely opens up the idea of for us to have the conversation where, and I don't think you and I've had this conversation in a long, long while, of the differences in the viewpoints of how it looks of religious people to non-religion, right? And then non-religious people to religion.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is someone like myself going out and saying something so audacious as I did would be a massive turnoff to a lot of people, much like the point here. There's even a couple other comments here, which I find is actually incredible. Let's scroll down real quick. There was one that just came in, I think, a little bit ago. Let's see. Where was it? I think it might have been this one. I have to say, it's a startling lack of grace with that statement, friendos. It kind of is. You realize, I'm not offering much to that hand, if you will, to the extent of the hand.
Yeah.
So what I kind of wanted to do is allow for you and I to riff back and forth a little bit here and speak on certain topics, not really going in depth into the religion, because this isn't going to be like me sitting here teaching scripture and gospel and all that.
Yeah.
It's more of a conversation of like the turnoffs for both, how it looks, how it feels, that kind of thing, of like certain acts and such. I guess my first question to you is like, as a non-religious individual, what is the one thing that would be an absolute turn off if there was ever an opportunity for you to be like, go to church or embrace a religion? Like, what's the one thing that would turn you off from doing that at all?
Judgment, honestly. Like, number one thing, because I have gone to church. I've gone to your church before in the past. I mean, growing up, we grew up in Virginia. Like, that's the
Bible Belt.
We
grew up at the buckle.
That's the buckle of the Bible Belt. And like, I mean, there's churches on every street corner, basically. And so I've gone to plenty of different churches.
Can I just say something that just hit me?
What?
It's funny you say it. We both agree that we lived in the buckle of the Bible Belt.
Yeah.
It's ironic that the town we grew up in is just north of the Dick.
I mean,
tell me I'm wrong.
You're not wrong.
There you go. Yeah, go ahead.
Anyway. So, I mean, I have gone, and I go in with open eyes, like I want to learn. Like, I think all of it's fascinating. And if there's something that's like a light bulb moment that I'm like, oh, you might be right, then, I'm totally open to that happening. I'm not set in my ways enough to say, no, there's absolutely no way this can happen. If something were to happen to make me realize that, then I would do that. I would follow along with that. But the number one thing, and I experienced it at basically every church, especially like my family's church growing up, because that was, you remember Bethany, that one is a very small church. Most of them were very nice, but the actual preacher was super nice, and a lot of the church staff were super nice. It was the people that went there that had preconceived notions on a lot of different things. Because I mean, we grew up metalheads, and so I had a certain look and everything. And so going to like my grandma's, like 90th birthday that she had there and stuff like that, like there are some funny looks and awkward conversations, we'll say. And even though I'm there respectful, I'm when people are bowing their head to pray, I'm bowing my head to pray. I'm not trying to be anti to anything, but there are people that think that I am just by being there. And, just the fact that I've vocalized my disbelief in that thing. And so they immediately judge me saying, oh, you're going to hell. Oh, you're the devil incarnate. Oh, you're a sinner. So that's the immediate thing, of course. I mean, that's kind of the obvious answer there. Otherwise, if I were to go a little bit deeper into that, I'd say it's more like the I don't want to say the blind faith, but I can't really think of a better way to describe it, to say like that you need to believe this just because, and not offer evidence-based fact. I know it's a faith thing, but just I'm an evidence guy. I need some material stuff. And so like I love having the conversation about it, because there's some things out there I'm like, well, that's a little weird. I don't know how to explain that, but I'm not going to immediately jump to the other thing. But as using those things as evidence, I'm totally fine with.
Yeah.
And so, number one, judgment. Number two, blind faith, I think is the two things for me.
What's funny is, and I think I would say a lot of free thinking, I don't want to use the term Christians because it's such a cliche name, but it's true. I would say a lot of free thinking Christians would actually agree with you on the judgment.
Yeah.
Because
100%, yeah.
A lot of westernized churches are built around judgment, are built around, hey, we'll welcome you into the door. But the moment you walk in that door, if you don't look or talk or walk or act or eat or sleep or breathe like they do, they're like, who are you?
Who are you? Why are you the devil?
And I do say a lot. I'm not saying all. I do say a lot, because there are some churches where I've walked in and they are just like, brother, welcome in.
Yeah, I mean the place we went to lock-ins all the time.
Oh,
like,
loved it.
Super awesome people.
Loved it.
And I straight up told them, I was like, hey, I'm not really, the biggest believer. I'm here to have a good time, and if we want to have a genuine conversation, let's have a genuine conversation. And I remember Josh, the pastor there, like he was super cool. And we've had those conversations, him and I, because he was there for the whole lock-in, and it was nothing ever to like really switch, but at the end of the day, we walked away knowing that we were both good people, right?
Yep.
And that we loved each other, and that, we could exist in this world simultaneously and still, want to help each other out.
Exactly.
Like that. So, hey, everyone. Thanks for watching the video so far. While you're here, click the subscribe button to become a Lousy listener. And also click that join button. For $2.99, you can have access to exclusive emotes and also get some cool features like interacting with Joe and I. Also, click the link in the description to join our Discord. Back to the video.
Well, and I like, like I said, a lot of churches do experience that level of judgment where a lot don't, and the ones that don't are the ones that I find you find the most honest, the most raw, the most sincere form of faith, because it's that recognition of nobody who walks through that door is perfect.
Yeah.
We're all simply just dust in the eyes of God. Simple as that. So if that's the case, who are we to decide which speck of dust is shinier than the other?
Yeah.
And I find that is definitely something like judgment is one of the things that turns me away from most churches, and why. And I admit I don't go to church today.
Yeah.
Do I still study scripture? And absolutely. Do I still read and try to understand? Absolutely. Because there's times where I want to be able to have that conversation. And I carry a Bible verse on my wrist for a reason. Like I chose to get that there because it resonates with me for many, many years. It's a verse that's sat with me for a long time. But I don't ever want someone to feel like they're being judged based on their past, your presentation of themselves.
Yeah.
Hell, where they're at in life, the job they have, the money in their wallet. Like, it doesn't matter. Judgment is, at the end of the day, is one of the most toxic forms that will always remove somebody from any kind of religious mindset. At the very start.
Yeah.
And then with blind faith, so the funny part about blind faith, I will say, is I don't believe in blind faith. I've never believed in blind faith. I've always believed that there will be some sort of sign. And I'll go ahead and I'll actually give a story real quick. So like I said, as you remember, we were kids. Yeah. I was in the church a lot. I got kicked out of the church. Definitely like gave up on my faith entirely. I was like, I'm done with this. Like, if that's how God is, I don't want any part of that. And then of course I joined the band years later. And like I said, when I joined the band, I told them very clearly, like, I'm not a religious guy. I'm not against the idea, but I'm also not looking.
Yeah.
And I remember this clearly. November that year, we had our EP release, and this was November 2015, if I'm not mistaken. We had our EP release, and November 2014, rather, November 2014. And I remember we played in this rinky-dink vape shop in this rundown, like stretch small, like shopping center. And funny story about that, they actually got busted for a meth lab in the back of the store.
Oh, hell yeah.
Crazy.
Nice. Really doing it up.
Yeah, they were, I mean, look, but great show.
Yeah.
It was a great show. Small show, but a great show. This was the third show I got to play with the band. I remember that night, like, there were so many things against me. Like, my rig didn't want to work right away. The old bassist of the band, who I still to this day don't know if he likes me. Their very first bassist, he actually left. That's why I got brought in.
Yeah.
And he showed up for the show. And I guess he showed up with an intent, like he was going to play. And I'm like, nah, dog, you You lost your spot.
Yeah, you
like
quit. Yeah.
You left. You actually like abandoned your post and went to a different state. Like, this is my part. And I remember like I was just so nervous and so terrified. And I didn't want to mess up. And this was one of those times in my life where I was like, this can make a break.
Yeah.
And we played the show. Absolutely killed it. I mean, absolutely killed it. By the time I was done, I was sweaty. I had on a vest over top of a tank top. Both were completely soaked. Like, we absolutely brought that place down to the foundation. And afterwards, I remember it was super cold outside, but I was so hot. I walked outside and I'm just steaming.
Mm-hmm.
And I walked up and mind you, this is late at night. So the entire shopping center that we're in is closed. It's dark. And I walked up to the end where the last light was before it cut off and it was just dark up the walkway.
Mm.
And I'm sitting there and I'm just hitting my vape and I'm just kind of like shell shocked because I was like, man, that was a really good show. And I know this is going to sound weird. Don't expect everybody to believe me here. But this dude, never met this guy in my life, walks up out of the darkness. Like I'm talking, out of the parking lot, walks up to me. Didn't see him in the show. Never once saw him in the crowd. Never once saw him outside going in or loading in. Never saw him for any of the previous bands. This is the first time I've seen this guy. And it's a small show. It was maybe like a 60 to 70 head count.
Yeah.
So I would have seen this individual. Guy walks up. I'm sitting there, I'm hitting my vape. And he goes, "You did good." And I went, "Thanks, man. Appreciate it." And he goes, "No, you did good. He's telling you did good." And I went, "Excuse me?" He goes, "You don't know me, but I just want you to know." And I kind of just sat there for a second and I hit my vape. And I look back at this guy and he just kind of looks at me and he smiles at me. He goes, "Yeah, you'll figure it out." And he walked away.
Yeah.
And I just kind of sat there for a second. And it just hit me. Like it kind of hit me in that moment.
Yeah.
Of like, holy shit, I know what I just did. And a couple seconds after, a couple friends walk up. And I found out shortly after our show that one of my buddies gave his life to God at our show because of the message that we provided. And that's when it hit me. And I'm not one to typically cry.
Mm-hmm.
You know this.
Yeah.
I'll try my hardest not to cry before I cry.
Mm-hmm.
And I was sobbing. I just broke down.
Yeah.
Because everything that I had just heard and then heard from my friends, I mean, it floored me.
Yeah.
It made me realize, oh, like he's watching.
Mm-hmm.
He knew. And that's when I turned. That's when I came back into it. And that's when my mind shifted gears and I went, okay, now I get it. I have a purpose.
Yeah.
And I think that's one thing that's helped me maintain my religion is understanding the purpose, which Psalm 28:7, very brief paraphrase for anybody, is Lord is the strength of my shield. I praise him with my song, or my heart trusts in him and I praise him with my song. And it's what I've had ever since is I've always, praised him with my music.
Mm.
And I find that through that same faith, not blind faith, but through faith and understanding, faith in purpose, faith in trust, that it's a much stronger understanding. And I get what you're saying from blind faith. Blind faith, I think, is definitely, people have it.
Oh yeah.
People definitely have it.
And they tend to be the most judgmental too.
They
Like,
do.
you know.
They really do.
Yeah.
And I find that those who find their purpose recognize, oh, everyone can have a purpose.
Yeah.
You know, faith in purpose is such a strong just belief. Man, I just like my brain kind of flashed back for a second to that night.
Yeah.
Faith and purpose is such a strong connection. And not everyone's gotten a chance to experience it. And I find that, you know, if you listen to those who have had their walk, you find those who have found their purpose too.
Yeah.
You know, and like you said, they're genuinely the ones who are least judgmental because they're also the ones who, much like me, came from a dark place. Like,
Yeah.
I hated the idea of Christianity after what the church did to me. Like, I would swear against it.
Yeah.
And
Because they were all like that. I
Yeah.
mean, honestly. Yeah.
And to think that in that moment, like, you know, I was able to go, wow, he actually chose me to do this. You know, like anybody else could have been in that position.
Yeah.
I remember having conversations with the guys time and time again of like different bases who came in and tried out and different times things could have happened. And like the fact that you and I were on tour with our last band, literally on our final tour when I first messaged them and they ignored my message.
Yeah.
And then I was like, all right, well, let me try this again. And then messaged them again. And they finally brought me in. I was the last guy they brought in. Like things like that. You look and you go, okay, I see the working. I see why it's working the way it is. Even for them, they were like, yeah, we had to go through all these other guys to understand like there's a purpose behind what we're doing. Yeah. We're just hiring a basis at this point. No, we need somebody who's going to come in with that purpose. And it's just crazy that I was the one who ended up in that position.
Yeah.
But I do get what you're saying and on the blind faith side. And I think that from the religious side, you know, a lot of religious individuals who do understand their purpose, who do understand their walk, who have a strong walk with their faith, with God, with Jesus, who you know, those are the individuals who can attest that blind faith is only but so strong that you have to dig much further to find that purpose.
Yeah.
I will say this, one thing that terrifies me, I love being able to talk about this stuff. But the thing that terrifies me the most is religion has gotten such a, what's the word I'm looking for?
A lot of preconceived notions there. I mean,
the only word I can really think is like a taboo, like taste on the tongue, if you will. That talking about it is very difficult to do.
It is. I mean, it's gotten political. I mean, I think is the number one problem with it. Personally, you know, I'm not going to get into the politics of it. I'm not going to get into the religious aspect of it. Like, it's just, regardless of the religion, regardless of the party, regardless of the politics, it's used as a weapon.
Absolutely.
And so because of that, a lot of the good stuff that gets done because of it gets pushed to the wayside and said, you know, and people just focus on the negative side. I mean, like, you know, for like all the corporate churches, for example, you know, like all the big mega churches that are just like, you know, it takes a lot of money to do what we do, you know, kind of thing. Like, no, it doesn't. You just want the money. Like,
who was it recently? I saw a clip. It was, who was it? They bought a private jet from,
that's what I was quoting. I can't remember his name.
Yeah. He's old. He looks like a toad.
He looks scary.
He looks demonic.
Like, yeah, he looks demonic. Yeah. Because I remember he's like, don't you ever do that, you know, like, don't you ever say that I did that or something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, bro, this is fucking creepy. But I mean, and we kind of grew up with a very large corporate church, we'll say. I'm not going to name any names, but we've mentioned it, kind of.
Yep.
So it's places like that.
Have you cleaned your pool recently?
No, I think I know a good guy though. Like,
yeah.
I think I do.
Yeah.
He offers some extra services as well. Let's see. Should we plug the Hulu thing?
If you find it, you find it.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna plug it, but
it's on Hulu.
Yeah. Just go looking for it.
But those guys give it such a bad taste in most people's mouth, I think. You know, like anybody that's not just indoctrinated into that cult, I'll say, you know, like, and because at that point, it's basically just a cult. Like it's one person's looking to profit and gain and not actually using the religion for the purpose of the religion, but they're using it as a mask to say, hey, 10%, give me.
Funny thing is, that's actually, so one of the songs we had was was actually our biggest hit.
Yeah.
And it was a call out against that. And we were very clearly like, we see what you're doing. Everyone knows you're just in it for the money. Like you all you're doing is pure evil. Just stop it. Like, I think like we even said it was our big like group like breakdown part was like, enemies of the cross, we got 3 words for you: shut your mouth. And like it was just, but it was like a call out to be like, hey, look, you're doing nothing to help. All you're doing is profiting off of fear, off of emotion, off of desperation, off of, you know, blind faith.
Yeah.
And dude, trust and believe.
God.
I would say trust and believe. That's exactly like religious people, those who, again, understand, even if you don't understand your purpose in your walk, like if you understand just religion in general and understand the keeping a soft heart and an open hand to be able to have a conversation like this, you know that those churches are evil.
Yeah. But on the other side of it too, while yes, there are those evil churches, the media doesn't do the best job of trying to flip it the other way and say, hey, no, most churches are cool. Like, you know, if you believe in this, you know, go seek it out, because it's all money on either side of it. And that's the thing. Like on both sides, it doesn't matter. They're either going to be for it or against it for their own profit and for their own gain. Yeah. And so it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of thing, you know, or you're always going to be, and because of that, I should say, because of on both sides of it, somebody in the middle is just like, I kind of have these thoughts, I want to explore them, but I don't want that, and I don't want that. And, you know, so they don't know if there is a middle, and which there is. You just got to find it. And I remember, what was it? The Unitarian Universalists, I think it was. Basically, it was a church that practiced where we lived, but it was like, it doesn't matter what your religion is. Doesn't matter what your faith is. We're just all here to like love each other and like be good to each other and help each other out. And
I don't remember that specifically.
I remember Dad and my stepmom did not like, they did some things with it.
Gotcha.
And it was cool. Like it was, that to me is ideal human kind of thing, you know, like that was like, you can be Christian, you can be Muslim, you can be Buddhist, you could be, you know, whatever. You can come in there and have a safe place to practice and to chill, and then just to, you know, socialize and, you know, talk about things, talk about life, talk about experiences. And I thought that was kind of cool. So, I mean, if you're that person looking for the middle, that's a pretty good middle to follow.
Absolutely.
And then they'll point you in the right direction for the more specific sect that you're looking for. But, that's about as middle as I could find.
Well, and I think a good middle is good to have. Like, again, at the end of the day, I stand firm on, look, Jesus is love. Simple as that. And I am not above, you know, if Jesus was not above washing the feet, I'm not above washing the feet.
Yeah.
If Jesus was not above, hanging amongst prostitutes and still being able to preach the word, I'm the same. Yeah. Like, I mean, you know me, you know how I am. I'm a very open individual. I want you to be yourself. If you want to run around butt naked and you know, I mean, like if you want to run around butt naked and have a smile on your face all day long, by all means, hey, you know what? Go for it. Yeah. If you want to sit down and tell me about your life story, I'd love to hear it. If you will ever need someone to like just listen to a problem, like absolutely. everybody's got their story.
Yeah.
You know, no one should be turned away because of their faith.
Mm.
And that's exactly how I believe Jesus was. Jesus was that same mindset of like, hey, look, you know, you're not inherently evil just because you don't believe in God. You know, I'm going to love everybody. Like, love is love no matter how you shake it. I want to be able to love you and show you that the love that I'm providing you. Scripture, of course, states, you know, no one comes to the Father except through me. That love I provide you can help you, you know, in that same connection, get you to heaven.
Yeah.
It's what Scripture states. But Jesus being love incarnate is the root of it all. You have to be able to love. You have to be able to have that good in your heart. You have to be able to have that soft connection with someone. And I find so often, especially in situations where I was so concrete in what I said, you know, that it closes that door.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it goes, I don't want that conversation with you. I know that you're wrong and I'm right. No, that's not the case.
Yeah.
That should never be the case. And I never want to portray that ever again. But this is a good conversation. Like I appreciate.
We haven't had one of these in a while.
We haven't.
In a while.
Yeah. And I think it's good to have these kind of conversations because it makes you recognize, like, it makes, you know, the lousy listeners out there recognize too, like, you can have this kind of conversation.
Yeah.
And I would love for people down below in the comments, like, we're not even going to, I don't even want to put an emoji down there. Like, if you want to put an emoji for engagement, we appreciate it. No specific one this episode. I know we usually do that, but no specific one this episode. I would love to just hear your thoughts. I would love to hear, especially Myra, however you say your name. I apologize if I got it wrong. I said Mira because I play a lot of R6 Siege, so forgive me. But Myra, however you say your name, I want to thank you again for calling me out.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not above reproach. Anybody who is, you know, strong in their faith should not be above reproach. If you say something wrong, you should be able to be called out on it. And hey,
on the other side of that, though, anybody that's not faithful, you know, they don't need to be beyond reproach either. You know, like,
valid.
That's just a human thing. Like, it doesn't matter if you're religious or not. Like, you know, if you say something wrong and somebody calls you out on it, you should be able to look at yourself and say, you know what, that's right. You know,
you got me on that one.
Yep. I'm going to learn from this. So
yeah, and I will 1,000% learn from this again. This, you know, understanding and seeing that, and then, you know, seeing the clip, reading the comment over and over again, and just like internally, and I admit initially I was like, I wasn't wrong, and then I went, shit.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah, are you sure about that? Thank you, John Cena.
Yeah.
But I definitely, like, it kept me up because I was like, man, I really fucked this one up.
Yeah.
So I thank you for calling me out on that, and I do apologize immensely again. You know, I hope this conversation that Sam and I have had has been able to help all of you understand a bit further from that. If religion ever pops up again, I will definitely be more conscious to, you know, speak softly, if you will.
Maybe just be more conscious. You know, doesn't necessarily have to be just on religion. Yeah.
Sure, I guess.
And just in general, you know, I'm not talking to you, just in general. Like, people need to be more conscious about what they're talking about.
You definitely said me.
I mean, I'm talking to you, yes, but I meant it to everybody.
Then tell everybody.
Yeah. We're dudes. Of course it was a male take. No,
Jesus Christ. Okay. Anyways, we're going to get out of here. We appreciate everybody who's been watching. Lousy listeners, we love all of you. Thank you so much. Again, comment down below, you know, what you believe.
Yep.
I want to hear it.
Yep.
I think it'd be a great comment section. Please keep it nice. Keep it honest, but keep it nice.
Yep.
Love is love. Let's actually love each other in the comments down below. I know we're a lousy show, but this is one of those times we're gonna
be the good show today.
Yeah, yeah, we're the good show.
I'm changing the title for this one. No, just kidding.
Imagine if I see that.
Yeah. No, I'm not gonna joke on this one as much. So,
but no, we appreciate everybody. Of course, as always, subscribe if you like what you watched. Appreciate everybody who's been tuning into the podcast. So thank you so much. But we're gonna get out of here. There's a button behind me. Hit it to subscribe and click on the video because YouTube recommends it. We'll see you in the next one.
Bye.
Later.